Today's story is Through Glass by Raymond Beaman. I could be anyone. I could be the man that crosses you on the street. I could be the person who serves you your morning coffee, your Uber driver, your colleague, or your coworker. I could be your father. I could be your brother, your friend, or your son. I could be your oldest acquaintance, your most trusted ally, the person who you would give your life for. I could be your boyfriend, your husband, your world, your forever. I could be all of these things and more, and you would never notice. Not even for a second. You would never see me for what I truly was. You would never see it. The horrid thing beneath the flesh. You could look for an eternity, and you would never really see me. How could you? I mean, I've spent my entire life being someone else. Being someone different. And after all of this time, I've become a master of the mirror. I've worn a mask for so long that sometimes I struggle to remember exactly who I am even supposed to be. I could be right next to you, and you would never know the truth, and after all of these years, after all of these things which I have done, it is this thought that scares me the most. I have unlimited power. I am never-ending, and I am unstoppable. So, you see, I could be all of them. I could be your dreams, and I could be your happiness, and even so, even with all of that misplaced familiarity of my touch, you would never see me coming. I'd always known that I was different. You see, I was not like the other children when I was growing up. I went through that socially awkward phase, just like everybody else, but me, well, I never really grew out of it. Where all of the other kids were making friends, I was making make-believe. Other people were just too complicated, and that was not really my style. I needed everything to be organized. Everything had to have a purpose, an order. Other people, other children, they did not really fit into that equation. After all, children, they're just animals. They consume, they dispose, they take, and you get nothing of value in return for all of your tears. Nothing for the years of effort. They are an empty pit of nothing. You can discard your life into them, and in the end, all that you ever really have is just an endless, black hole of broken dreams, and even deeper regrets. So, I made my own way. I quickly learned how to wear the mask, to pretend, to act as if I were normal. A friend of mine showed me the way, and he showed me how to become a better version of myself. My friend was supportive. My friend was understanding. My friend knew who I was, and remarkably, my friend accepted me for the version of me that I had been trying my best to hide from the world. My friend was smart. My friend was funny, and more importantly, my friend was everything which I aspired to be. Although he wasn't quite everything I had yearned for. He certainly thought like me. He certainly spoke like me, but he had an edge. Whereas I had a filter, he had none. He had a habit of saying exactly what I was thinking. You know, those dark little thoughts, the ones which you dare not to share. He would relish in those nasty little strands, He would rejoice at my shame, but more importantly, he would remind me that I never, ever had to apologize for who I was. When we met, I knew that we would be friends for life. He told me as such. That day, so long ago, that cold November day right there in the playground. You could do so much better than sitting alone in the mud, you know. And I looked up, startled by the fact that a person was actually talking to me. You know, I'm sure that they would appreciate you a little more if you took action, Theodore. My eyes briefly moved to the group of children across from me on the playground, joyfully enjoying a match of football. Never me. They always leave me out. I'm always alone. I think it would be wise to move your way in at halftime. He was there, standing against the backdrop of the bright winter sun behind him. He was smiling, looking down at me with a conviction which seemed to glow a strong warmth. A conviction so bright, even against the harsh winds of that cold winter day. He cracked a grin as I squinted my eyes. Little Joey thinks that he knows football. He has never played our game before. I took a second before speaking. I've never seen you here before, in school, I mean. Are you new? He snickered slightly at the question. I've been around, Theodore. You know, just waiting. I really think that we should get involved. My eyes briefly turned back to the group of children playing football. But they're so much bigger than me. And besides, they don't want me to play with them either. He thought for a second, and then once again smiled. It's not just you anymore, though, right? We are a team. We are in this together. Now, how about we go and make a mark? The glaring sun behind of him blinded me as I carefully considered his suggestion. I could stay here for the rest of break. I could be comfortable. I could be safe, or I could take a chance. There was something about him which filled me with a newfound confidence. His words seemed to create a growth within me, a feeling of strength, a power which I had never felt within my short and pathetic life. His stature and the way that he held himself was intoxicating. I just knew that anything he said, I would be willing to do. Slowly, he extended his arm down towards me. That a boy, Theodore. I have a feeling that we're going to be good friends. I smiled as I took his hand. I prefer Ted, I spoke softly. And what is your name? He laughed slightly as he pulled me to my feet. You can call me Thomas. A slight grin moved across my features. Let's go and have some fun, Theodore. I brushed myself off and followed Thomas quickly across the gritty playground, closing the distance towards the group of the boys. As we approached, one boy noticed us and paused, turning to his friend with the whisper which quickly spread amongst the group. Slowly, each of them turned, pausing their game as we casually approached. Joseph emerged from the group of boys and moved toward us as we neared. What are you doing here, Teddy? My lips trembled slightly at the question, but thankfully, Thomas was already speaking before I had even had the chance to formulate a response. Just here to partake in a little game, gents, unless any of you fine lads would disagree to our participation. Almost in tandem, the group of boys began to laugh. You want to play with us? Don't you think you're a little too small to be here? Joseph smiled wide as he held the ball tightly against his chest. Do you really want to get hurt today, Teddy? My heart began to beat faster as Joey's words sank in. He is right. They were bigger than me. They were all older than 10. They were stronger, they were faster. I had no place being here. I had no place playing any game with them, and everyone could see it. Regardless of their stature, they did not like me. If I joined them, they would take the chance. They would hurt me. Eric was here, and so was Jamie. Both of them were so rough. Nothing good would come of this. I had to get away. I should not be here. Slowly, Thomas's arm moved up across my shoulders as he pulled me in close to him. He squeezed me tightly into an embrace as he answered on my behalf. Which side's losing? Which side needs my help the most? Almost immediately, the group of boys begun to laugh again. Thomas, however, remained steadfast. He did not blink. He did not waver. He simply waited for the boys to finish, and when he did, he smiled once more before oozing a silk and smooth sentence which left a cold silence within its wake. Shocking. I guess that your side is the crap one then today, Joey? Are you sure that you really want me playing opposite of you? The shock was obvious as it moved across Joseph's face. It lingered there for a second, before falling nicely into an acute anger which worked its way up from his lips as it manifested itself within his cheeks in a tight and contorted rage. He gritted his teeth and inhaled deeply before speaking two final words, which together refused to be swept away within the cold November wind. Your funeral. Thomas moved, and I moved. We walked side by side as the group remained silent. We did not utter another word. We did not contribute any further. We simply took formation and paused in the middle of the pitch as the group of boys looked silently upon us. Are we playing today, or what, pussies? Thomas had gone too far. I could see it in the eyes of every child there. The ones that hated me before seemed to hate me so much more now, if that were possible. If I'd been a pariah at the start of the day, I was an absolute outcast now. I was an 8-year-old boy playing in a 10-year-old's world, and as their eyes set upon me, as the ball dropped and the game commenced, I knew that I had made enemies. And I knew that I had made a very big mistake. The ball dropped, and they moved, and almost immediately, 3 of them were upon me. They were bigger, they were stronger, and the air from my lungs was quickly theirs. In a flash, and in a pain, and in an instant, I was on the floor, shoved aside like the child I was, discarded again, just like every moment of my life prior. Tears swelled within my eyes as I curled in a heap on the floor. From somewhere within the distance, further laughter erupted. Not so tough now, are you? Is little Teddy boy gonna cry? Joseph led the laughter as he smiled before disappearing back into position. What am I doing? Why was I here? I knew that I shouldn't be here. I had no place being here. It had been a feeling within me for so long. It had been a splinter which had grown since the moment of my birth, manifesting itself in a sharp and painful tear which bore heavily against my mind. It had been a realization, a longing, an acknowledgement. I did not fit in, no matter what I had done, no matter what I tried, no matter who I pretended to be. It would never be good enough. I was lost, I was a sheep without a flock. I was alone, and ultimately, I was scared. But in that instant, as the debilitating pain clamped down heavily upon my chest, as the wind escaped me and another tear fell from my eyes, my shepherd moved forward, extending his arm as he beckoned me to stand once more. Above me, he once again smiled, willing me back to my feet with his strong, unwavering confidence. Time to play our game. The tears swelled within my eyes. I was hurt, I was broken, and all that I wanted, all that I had craved within the entire world, within the trees, the wind, the waves, and the shore, within the oceans, the air, the day and the night, within the void, the eternity, within the forever and the day, all that I wanted, all that I craved, all that I needed was for Joseph to feel my pain. Even just for a second. Even just for one moment. I needed him to be me. I needed him to feel me. Without thinking, an agreement was made. It was an agreement which would be everlasting. One which would extend past the playground and into my future. The threads of the arrangement were bound, and they extended forth into everything that I was. Everything that I would be. The things that I had done, and the things that I had not yet done. They moved intricately into the things that I wished for, the things that I longed for. They would persist. The agreement would persist, and it would grow, and it would attach itself to every aspect of my life following. It would solidify itself against my reality. It would hang strong, and it would be a part of me forever. In that moment, I did not realize it. In that moment, all that I needed was absolution, and it was there, within the strong, welcoming palm which waited patiently for me. It was there, and it was ready. All that I had to do was accept. Amongst the spluttering of tears and within 3 short words, I took Thomas's hand. Play our game. He smiled as he lifted us up. It's time to have some fun, Theodore. A blur. That's what the game became. I was there, and then I was not. Myself and Thomas melded together as we each took turns defending the goal. He moved, and I moved. He pushed forward, and so did I. He dodged an incoming attack, and then so did I. He blocked a rough shot, and I felt the sting of its impact. We moved as one, and we conquered as one. And when he laughed, we laughed as one. The game would be won, and it would be won our way. Somewhere out in the field, Joey was approaching. I had seen him, and he had seen me. I could see in his eyes that he was tired of my presence. He moved toward me with rotten intent, ignoring the ball as it moved past his feet. It was clear, and I knew that it was coming. He wanted to score points, but the goal was the furthest thing from his mind. His arm recoiled as he approached, preparing for the attack he had so desperately waited for. Time slowed as he closed the distance. Everything screeched to a halt, and the crisp, cold wind disappeared from the playground around of me. The birds no longer sung, and the world ceased to spin. Everything was about to end, and all that I could do was wait for the impact. I prepared to wince in preparation of the incoming attack, but Thomas had also seen Joey as he approached. He turned slowly and smiled at me once more before asking a simple question. A question which never needed asking, as both Thomas and I already knew the answer. "Time for a substitution, Theodore?" And, with a final smile, he turned, his outstretched palm moving forcefully up as it made contact clean with Joey's nose. Things became different. The world had somehow been transformed, born anew into something much more beautiful. In an instant, everything seemed to make sense, and it was so pure and colorful. A perfect shade of red complemented by the hue which burst forth from Joey's nose in a forceful and violent gush. He instantly fell to the floor as Thomas moved above him, easing his weight down upon the injured child before unleashing a tirade of blows against the young features of the boy who laid screaming upon the floor. Thud. Thomas struck Joey's nose once again. Thud. Joey yelled in pain as the blood flowed unrestricted across his face. Thud. Thomas struck him again and again and again. Thud. What a beautiful day for a game. The other children had formed a circle around Thomas as he continued to beat Joey's face without mercy. They did not intervene. They dare not move, and they dare not utter a single word as they stood powerless, watching their friend reduced to nothing but beaten flesh. A mess of a person, no more than bloodied rubble upon the dirt. I lingered in the background, melding perfectly into the group, watching, laughing. The strikes continued to come until the boy no longer moved beneath the violence above him, and then a few more followed that before slowly, Thomas paused the assault. He lifted his bloody palm and moved it around the group, showing the true price of words. A maniacal, guttural laugh escaped him as he began to shout. Do you see? Do you all see what I am? You don't know me. None of you know me. You cannot possibly imagine what is beneath this. He continued, pausing to smear the blood from his hand across his cheeks. I am pure power. You step to me and you get your face destroyed like this little thing here. I will taste all of your blood if you ever come near me or my friend here again. Do you all hear me? None of the group said a single word, but Thomas and I both knew that they were in agreement. A wicked grin cut its way across his face as a teacher approached. She paused for a second as the realization of what she had found slowly sank in. On instinct, her hand moved to her mouth in horror. Oh my God. Time moved quickly, and before I knew it, we were stood before the head teacher. Thomas, thankfully, let me do the explaining. After all, he knew that I was a little better at navigating the intricacies of negotiation than he was. He knew that I would be best suited to have the difficult conversations. Joey had a reputation for fighting, but neither myself nor Thomas did, so we got let off relatively easy considering what had occurred. Joey never came near either of us again, and unsurprisingly, the other children did their best to avoid us at break also. I was alone again, but this time, not quite as much as before. Thomas never left my side, and we were together for every second following. Everything seemed to speed up after that, and the days passed quickly, and then the months, and finally, before I knew it, years had passed. I grew up, and so did Thomas, but our friendship never faltered. He was always there for me, always there to protect me, to take the difficult actions that he knew I could never take. He always knew what to do, and that never changed. Not even on the night of the first. He was there for me, and he guided me that night into the bar. We'd both been drinking for most of the night. A busy day had to have its rewards after all, and we had both definitely earned a little relaxation. That night, however, there would be little time to linger on pleasantries. I knew as much. The moment that he stumbled into the bar, moving with the weight of his intoxication, in search of more of the same. He never even noticed us as he half fell into the stool a few meters away. He paused with his head in his hands before mumbling his order incoherently to the bartender as I turned to Thomas. He'd already seen him, and he was already smiling. "Oh, Theodore, you cannot make this stuff up. This is exactly what we need after the day that we have both had. I know that you are in agreement. I've known you for so long, remember? Boy, oh boy. I am giddy here, and it's not just the drink. You really cannot make this up." I didn't have to speak. He's right. He nodded slightly, setting his glass down on the bar. "Oh, yes. Are we going to have some fun tonight, my boy?" He shivered slightly as he smiled. I can barely contain myself. Again, I didn't have to speak. Thomas knew that he would have to wait, and we both did, so we waited. We ordered another drink, and we remained silent, and then we waited some more. Before long, the bartender had called last orders, but it didn't matter. It was clear from across the stalls that he was already out of money. He moved from his stall, took a second to try to compose himself, and then stumbled towards the exit. "Drink up, Theo. It's party time." Life had long escaped the bar, and most had left a few hours ago. The bartender, he was busy collecting the glasses, and all but Thomas and I remained as we followed the man from the bar and out into the cold night air. The hour was clear, and the night above was calm. The streets were deserted, and all life had moved from the world. This night was exactly the backdrop that we required. There was nobody to be seen, and the world only existed for the three of us. We moved in silence as we followed him down the road before he turned, stumbling into an alley in search of a good place to relieve himself. Thomas slapped me playfully on the back as we took the turn and moved into the darkness of the alleyway. "Let's go reintroduce ourselves." He had his back to us as we approached. He would never hear us. We were far too good. One step, it's happening. 2 steps, I could feel it. 3 steps, I am becoming me. As we neared, he sensed the approach in the night and turned, dumbfounded and caught off guard. The look of surprise was instant as it burned across his face. His mouth moved in slow motion as his final word fell from his lips. "Teddy?" Thomas grinned as he spoke for me. "Your funeral." I moved in, and Thomas raised my arms. I tightened my grip around his throat, and Thomas tightened it harder. Thomas smiled and loosened up slightly, begging for me to take over, and I gladly did. With force, I pushed my digits into his neck as he gasped for air while Thomas laughed gleefully in the background. The man's eyes opened wide as he gazed upon us. One set of eyes for two entirely different people. As the life escaped his body, as the denied air caused the vessels in his eyes to burst and his lips to tinge, I knew in that moment he could truly see me. He could see us. It was clear that finally, after all of those years since the playground, Joey knew exactly the person that we were. And it was over. A little too quickly for Thomas's liking. As Joey collapsed to the floor, a husk of the waste of a person he used to be, Thomas was clearly annoyed. I thought this one had a little more fight. What an absolute waste of a perfect night. I didn't hear him. I couldn't hear him. I was too focused on our reflection as it burned perfectly back at us from a nearby window. I had done it. I had been born. I had become everything that I had always wanted to be. I had become the person that I always knew that I was. The person that I had tried to hide for so very long. In a moment of beauty, I had become Thomas, and Thomas had become me, and I knew that this was just the beginning. After all, the taste was far too sweet upon the tongue to be ignored any longer. Our reflection was perfect, and our reflection was pure, and our reflection would last an eternity. I was there, and so was Thomas, looking joyfully back at me. He was me, and I was him. A reflection, a mirror, two people sharing one willing and able body. We were the same. Power personified, reflected with a perfect precision, clearly and with no further restraint, ready and willing, a reflection of two as one through glass. So that was Through Glass by the always amazing Raymond Beaman, the man, the myth, the legend from the UK. Love this guy, and I hope he loves me too. That was a weird thing to say, but alas, it's what I said. So thank you, Ray, for submitting this story to me. Always love your work, dude. You know that. I own your book, as you know, because, yeah, you know I have it. Anyways, I should link that down below, so go check the links down below to find Ray's short story collection, which is an amazing collection. I do apologize if this outro seems scattered and confused. It's early in the morning. I'm doing this as my warm-up for the day, so hopefully it turns out well, and my brain just not function good. I don't work to the brain good do now. Please do check out Ray's book, his book of short stories. Also, check out the collection of Ray stories I have on my other channel, and I have another story of his on this channel, which is also awesome. Raymond is a fantastic author, like I said. I'm going to end this outro before I start saying stupid stuff. I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm morning brain right now. Not enough coffee, I guess. Anyways, thank you, Ray. Thank you, everyone who listened. Please like the video. Please subscribe if you're new. Comment your thoughts below. Check out my other channel, As the Raven Dreams, if you like true stories. And of course, until I see you next time, please sleep well.